whatever you want to call them, about the TV show Seinfeld. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched Seinfeld. It was a little before my time, even. I don't really know the demographics age-wise of the channel. I think it skews a little younger than me, so, some of you probably, maybe you have seen it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't seen it, it does still hold up, I think. I watch it from time to time. It's one of the TV shows that makes the rotation on my TV back there. Right now, 30 Rock is playing. I don't think it's just out of frame. Yeah. So, when my dog is home, which my dog came home recently, that's a whole other story. He was staying at a dog sitter while I had surgery. When my dog is home, I like to leave the TV on for him, and I have a laptop that just plays, TV episodes from 30 Rock, Seinfeld, Parks and Rec, and The Office, and How I Met Your Mother. Sometimes Always Sunny, and sometimes Brooklyn Nine-Nine too. He seems to like them. I mean, he stares at the screen, and I don't know how much he gets out of it, but if I'm doing something, he'll sit on the couch and look towards the screen and then fall asleep. So, I mean, maybe it does something, maybe it does nothing. I don't know. Dogs can't talk, but that's beside the point. We're talking about Seinfeld today. It's a great show. So, we have some trivia. I found these on Imgur. Imgur. I don't know how to pronounce it. But we're just going to read them. First little bit of trivia, fun fact. Jerry Seinfeld turned down an offer from NBC that would have made him $110 million for the 10th season of the show. I think this was a good decision, maybe. I mean, not specifically from the money point of view, but just because, it was the number one show for a bunch of years, and it was a great show, and it's still a great show. I think he made the right decision ending it when he did, instead of dragging it on, and, he's wildly successful, so he probably didn't need the extra $110 million. Sometimes it's better to walk away from something you're very proud of. Next fact. Fact number 2. As Kramer became more popular, his entrance applause grew so prolonged that the cast complained it was ruining the pacing of their scenes. Directors subsequently asked the audience not to applaud so much when Kramer entered. Now this is kind of interesting. If you haven't watched the show, the character Kramer always entered in a big way. You come through the door, and it was kind of a big deal. Michael Richardson did a really good job with Kramer, and Kramer's always been one of my favorite characters of any sitcom, really. But that's just crazy to think that, the live studio audience would applaud so much. It's like the Beatles, eventually the Beatles got to a point where they couldn't play live, because back then PAs just weren't loud enough. So the Beatles had to stop touring because the fans would just scream the whole time and no one could hear anything. Michael Richards, bigger than the Beatles. I mean, no, but we can say that. Okay, fact number 3. Boom. The original script was called Stand Up. It was supposed to be a 90-minute mockumentary about how a stand-up comedian writes his jokes based on his everyday life. It was to air in place of a Saturday Night Live for one single night. NBC, though, liked the script so much that they decided to develop it into a pilot instead. Now, I always had heard that was kind of the basis for the show, and that's how they made the pilot, but I had never heard this fact that it was supposed to be a mockumentary. And I don't know, would that have been the first mockumentary? I know some film history, and I can't think of the earliest. Oh, Spinal Tap actually would probably be the first mockumentary. At least it's the first I can think of. Though I've heard of documentaries that were completely fake. That might as well have been mockumentaries. I know in the, I mean, I'm pulling a number out of my butt here, but maybe like the 30s, there was a documentary about Eskimos, and it turns out like everything they shot was like fake, and the Eskimo actor they had gotten thought it was hilarious, all the stuff they were making him do, and for years people thought it was all real. And even like now, some of the myths from that documentary persist, like the Eskimos having umpteen words for snow and stuff like that, and it's all just like bull. Like the guy just made it up. So maybe you can call that a mockumentary, I guess. Fun fact 4. This is 4. I think it's 4. We gotta lose count. The director, Steven Spielberg, once commented that while filming Schindler's List, he got so depressed that he would watch tapes of Seinfeld episodes to cheer himself up. That is, interesting. There's a plot point in a Seinfeld episode about Schindler's List. I won't ruin it for you if you want to watch. Also, another fun fact, I haven't actually seen Schindler's List, which as a filmmaker and a cinephile, I feel like I'd probably get a lot of flack for that one. It's been on my list for a long time, but it feels real heavy, so I'm just never like in the mood for that kind of a film. I think one day I'll just have to, sit down and watch it and just bite the bullet and deal with it, Next fun fact. Okay. Before the show was set to air, Jerry asked Jason Alexander what he thought their chances of success were. Jason said he thought they didn't have a chance. When asked why, Jason responded, "Because the audience for this show is me, and I don't watch TV." I mean, that's a good point. Seinfeld was quite unlike everything else on TV at that time. The whole run that Seinfeld was on. But it's also kind of a jerky response, I think. But apparently that's just how Jason Alexander was, so, I mean, at least he told Jerry the truth, which I think is pretty funny. Okay, next fun fact. Larry David was quite volatile in meetings with NBC executives and would often outright refuse to accept their notes and suggestions. He was eventually banned from attending the meetings. If you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, you probably know the kind of person that Larry David is, so I totally believe this one, and I wouldn't expect any different, but at the same time, I feel like having someone that's like real bull-headed sometimes in creative projects usually makes them better. Having some conflict in the creativity generally sparks better ideas. You don't want a whole room full of people that are just like, yeah, that's great. But at the same time, you do want to take some feedback. I just don't know if you want to take feedback from movie studios or TV studios. I feel like more often than not, they ruin films than make them. But sometimes they do help. I've read some trivia notes about things that have happened. But if you guys like David Lynch at all, he'll always say that after the movie Dune, he would never make a film that he didn't have Final Cut over ever again. And if you don't know what Final Cut is when the filmmaker has the final say in what the movie is. Most studios retain the final cut that they're contractually allowed to go in and make edits over the director's head. So sometimes, when it's directed by so-and-so, it's really like directed by so-and-so and like these 10 executives in this, the movie studio and whoever got in their ear at the time, like some movie studios, like kid get to see the movie and be like, oh, it should have a funny robot daddy, and like boom, that's a note. It's like, well, our research says you like funny robots. It's like, no, your kid liked it, like, because they saw like 10 seconds of it, like, whatever. Anyway, I could just get off on rants on movies all day. Okay, next fun fact. Jason Alexander originally based his portrayal of George on Woody Allen, which is why he wore glasses. When he realized that George is actually based on Larry David, he began basing his performance on David's mannerisms. I always saw Larry David and Woody Allen as like very similar in a way, but in a way they're also very different. I don't know how to. I would group them together in the sense of like their comedy style, I guess, maybe. But I mean their mannerisms are very different, so I don't know why I put them together. You know, it's just like if you had like colors of filmmaking and like their kind of comedy was like this is green comedy. Like I would put Larry David and Woody Allen there, and maybe I want to say Edgar Wright maybe would go in there too, but maybe I don't know. He's kind of British. I mean, he's British. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Okay, let's just go to the next fun fact now. Okay, the night before the final episode, ABC aired an episode of Dharma and Greg in which the couple tries to have sex in public because everyone will be indoors watching the Seinfeld finale. Also, MTV only aired cartoons that were specifically filmed to fit the time into the finale's commercial breaks so that viewers could freely watch both of them and not worry about missing anything. That ought to tell you how big Seinfeld was at the time. I mean, I think it ended in 1999, or maybe it was 2001. I don't really remember. But that's saying something. Like, the internet really wasn't as big of a thing. Like, you didn't have internet on smartphones. You didn't have smartphones at all. So to like have other TV networks like that's like Super Bowl big. Like, it's kind of a big deal. Seinfeld was great. Next fun fact. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was pregnant while shooting part of the series. Her pregnancy was disguised with her carrying props to hide her changing body. This one, we can call that a fun fact, or trivia, but I feel like a lot of TV shows that if they run long enough, that's a real thing that happens. If you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, there's a story arc where Amy Santiago goes to prison undercover, and she goes undercover as like a pregnant woman, and that's how she can like make contact with her contacts. And that whole time they filmed that story arc, she was pregnant, and that's how they disguised it, which I think is a really clever way of doing it. I know that How I Met Your Mother did that with Lily. And I think maybe with Robin too. They both were pregnant at different points and I'm sure if you look at enough sitcoms, I'm sure that's just all over the place. With like story arcs, I know The Office had Pam and Angela both pregnant as like a plot line. But I don't know how many kids those two had. So maybe that happened there too. Who knows? Parks and Rec could be another one. If I looked into it, we'd probably find it all over the place. Gotta stay hydrated, right? Okay, next fun fact. Michael Costanza, Jerry's friend, who George is named after, filed a $100 million lawsuit against Seinfeld, like the TV show, Larry David, and NBC, claiming invasion of privacy and defamation of character. Costanza claimed damages due to the show's alleged use of his likeness. The case was dismissed. I mean, just changing the first name, that's transformative enough. Especially when you talk to Jason Alexander, and it's well documented that he was modeling after Woody Allen and then after Larry David. You could just be like, well, it's got the same name. Oh my god. Spam text messages at 11:42 p.m. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry about that. Okay. Next fun fact. Oh man, this one's a big one. I have to bring the phone up so I can read the whole thing. The Soup Nazi is based on the actual owner, Al Yeganeh, of a takeout soup business in Manhattan. Just like in the sitcom, his soups were known for their excellent quality. But the Soup Nazi was also famous for the unusual way he treated his customers. Instead of calling him a Nazi, local patrons called him a terrorist, presumably because they knew he forbid the use of the N-word in his... Presumably because they knew that he was born in Iran, not Germany. He was also so angered by the episode that he forbid the use of the N-word in his restaurant. Oh, the N-word being Nazi. Even the slightest reference to Seinfeld would push his buttons, so when some cast members and writers from Seinfeld bravely visited the restaurant after the episode aired, he claimed that the show had ruined his life. That's a bold statement. I don't know. I would think that would actually give him better business. I wonder if his soup business is still in business. I mean, it would have been like 25 to 30 years ago at this point. So, I mean, if he's still in business, like, good for him. I don't know. I just don't know enough about it. Next one. Jerry was inspired to end the show after 9 seasons by the Beatles, who broke up after 9 years together. I don't know if that one's true, because I know the Beatles got their start playing a whole lot of covers. They were like a cover band for a long time in Germany, I want to say. And they would play for like these marathon, like 5, 6, 7 hour sets. So they knew all these songs. And I knew like that was at least like a year or so of their time. So that would be weird that the Beatles blew up in 8 years. But I guess it's possible. The overnight success and all that. But that's interesting. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Let's see, we got a couple more here. So, next one. Larry David was very adamant that every character of the lead quartet had a storyline in each episode, and he even charted it out on the writer's room to keep close track of the plots and screen time. I think that's how you should do ensemble casts. I mean, with only 4 people, that's much more doable than like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where you've got, Jake, Amy, Boyle, Gina, and Holtz, Terry, Rosa. Like, that's 7. Like, which is 4. Like, it's totally doable. And even with like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they usually have A, B, and sometimes C stories that, Hitchcock is only 2, so it's 9. Jeez, they have so many characters in that show. I love that show. But like The Office too, Although The Office did focus a lot on Jim, Pam, Michael, and Dwight. So I don't know. I think that's just a good policy. You really just use all your characters to the best of your ability. All right, here's another small one. This is real. I'm gonna try not to mess it up like the last one. Kramer's wardrobe of mostly 1960s and 1970s clothing was not intended to make him into retro fashions so much as to suggest that he hadn't bought clothes in several years. The pants in particular were always about an inch too short in order to stress this. In later seasons, appropriate clothing became increasingly difficult for producers to find due to the combination of it getting older and older, as well as the extreme popularity as a character, forcing them to have tailors personally make Kramer's clothing out of retro fabrics. Often, they would create numerous backup copies of the clothing in case it was damaged during the physical comedy. I believe that one, especially towards the end of the 90s, that kind of hipster look really started to come in. That retro look was a big deal. And, Kramer maybe had a big part to deal with that. Okay, next one. Jason Alexander is the only actor of the 4 main characters to not win an Emmy. The reason for this has yet to be effing explained. I don't know why that is. I've heard stories that he was a bit of a jerk on set, so maybe he just rubbed people the wrong way. But he had a lot of great storylines, a lot of great acting parts, so I don't know why he never won an Emmy and everyone else did. I know Julie Louis-Dreyfus, did she win 2 maybe, or she at least won 1 for Elaine, and maybe she got the other one from Veep. I'm not entirely sure. Next fun fact, the puffy shirt used in the Puffy Shirt episode is currently placed in the Smithsonian. That's a really good episode. If you want to watch Seinfeld and you never watched Seinfeld, the puffy shirt is a pretty good one to get the gist of the show. So I'm gonna put that on there. Another fun fact. This really isn't a fun fact. It's kind of just like filling out the list, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Ranked number 11 on Empire Magazine's 50 greatest TV shows of all time. Why would you include that in a trivia list? Like, that's such a boring fact. And now it just makes you wonder what the other 10 were that were ahead of Seinfeld. I know for me at least, number 1 would probably be Breaking Bad. Is probably the best show of all time. I know it's probably not on this list, but Kidding on Showtime is also really good. Very good, really. Better Call Saul is pretty good, but I like Breaking Bad. Sopranos would also probably be up there. The Office. But The Office and Seinfeld, I feel like they're pretty comparable. I know some people might get mad at me for saying that, but you grew up with The Office probably and not Seinfeld, so that's why you think that. Yeah. Anyway, okay, last fun fact. That's the last one. This video's a lot longer than I thought it would be. I'm an expert at rambling. I should start a podcast. Would you guys watch an ASMR podcast where I bring on guests that don't do ASMR, and then they have to do ASMR whispering, but the podcast is just about something completely different. It's like the Joe Rogan podcast, but everyone whispers. Everyone's like, "Okay, you've got kids, they're asleep, so we're gonna whisper." That would be terrible. I'm not gonna do that. But can you imagine if I did? I'm not gonna know. Okay, last fun fact. Okay. When the final episode aired in 1998, that's when it ended, 1998, the TV Land Network honored the occasion by airing no programming in the show's time slot. Instead, the network just showed a still photo of a closed office door. So that goes back to the other, that was an earlier, what a lame one to end on. Man, I wish there was a better one to end on. That's the same as 5 or 6 facts ago when they talked about what MTV and ABC did. So, man, that's kind of a bummer to just end on that. Do I know any? Oh man, I wish I knew some Seinfeld trivia. No, I don't know. Yeah. I watch B-Movie. How about that? That's not trivia, but it's a ridiculous movie, and I think it's really underrated, and it's just ridiculous. It's a good kids movie. It's good for adults too, though. It's universal comedy. It's one of the few children's movies I'll watch, and I'm like, this is funny for everybody. I don't care about your age. And it's not like full of like, you know, like adult jokes that are like snuck in there that the kids won't understand it. It's just a good movie. It's just real wholesome. So, yeah, that is the Seinfeld trivia list. If you know any Seinfeld trivia, you want to talk about TV shows, drop a comment down below, because that helps out a whole lot with the algorithm and helping getting these videos seen by other people. And if more people see the videos, then I'll make more, because, you know, it's hard to spend 25 minutes rambling and only like 50 people watch it, but I like making them. So if you guys keep watching them, I'll keep making them till I have something better to do. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That also helps me out a lot. You can turn on notifications, but like, I don't know, I never do that. Do you guys ever turn on notifications for creators? Like, drop me a comment down below. Hit that like button too. I'm so bad at YouTubing. That's probably why I don't get more views. Because I'm not like, alright guys, you can't be an ASMR person and be like, smash that like button. You just like, okay everybody, gently press the like button. Just press the like button gently. It just doesn't, you can't, like, you know, like the Davey 504 guy with he slaps the screen like 17 times a video. I can't do that. It doesn't work. So, gently caress the like button, gently caress the subscribe button. Turn on notifications if you do that.